Thanks for all the support in the last entry. I'm really glad everyone enjoyed part 1 of my adventures in Harmony Way, and I'm looking forward to showing you more. You know, it's funny. I may have been put in life-endangering situations in the past, but now I can look back on them with this strange sense of nostalgia. Story 1, The Foundation. The first story is a continuation of my last one. You know, when Chris was telling me to head to the Foundation and all, this isn't really all that scary. The Foundation itself did get really scary though, as things went on for the decade I've worked there. So, I entered the Foundation building. I look around and I saw a white room, and men running to and from. There were many, many rooms. Before I could go any further, Chris pulled me to a desk with a stereotypical secretary-looking lady. "Hey there, officers Red Spitting and White Lip. You here to file a report?" I looked at Chris strangely. Before I could ask, he turned to me. "We don't use real names. We're assigned names, specifically names related to snakes." I nod slowly. "Ah, okay." Chris turns back to the secretary lady. "So, anyway, we're here to report a D/127 class anomaly, which activated an A2 class scenario. I am pleased to report there were no A1 class scenarios, however." I look at him oddly for a few seconds before putting my thoughts into words. "What?" He nodded understandingly and explained, "It's code speak for a doppelganger turned a civilian to mush and no other civilian saw it happened." I nodded and looked back at the secretary. She looked at me and replied, "Ah, I must have forgotten. I'm Operative Garden, but you can call me Sheila." I replied, "I'm Red Spitter." Chris interrupts me. "I'm Red Spitter. You're White Lip." "Ah, well, I'm White Mouth. You can call me Charles." Chris replies, "No, she can't. And you can't call her by her real name either. It's Foundation policy." I threw my hands up in the air. "Whatever." Chris told Garden, "Report the incident to the Overseer." "Will do, Red Spitter. See you later, White Mouth." I waved back at her before Chris pulled me and pushed me out the door as he went with me. Yeah, he can be a hard ass like that, but it's part of what I like about the guy. Story 2, Return of the Deer. So, as corny as it sounds, the deer had returned that day. It always returns every time I'm here. Chris says it's always there, every day, at the exact same time, 9 a.m. I saw the deer there. It was looking directly at me, with its red, beady eyes. So I asked Chris, "Does it hurt anyone?" "Well, it's 50-50. 50-50? How does the deer murder people?" "Trust me, when you've been here long enough, you come to despise the fuck out of that deer." "Then why don't we hunt it down? You know, shoot it or whatever." "We tried. Bullets bounce off toward the people who shot the bullet." "So it kills the shooter?" "Yep, it's also carnivorous." As he said that, it reached down and ate a bunch of rabbits and swallowed them whole. I swear I saw its teeth get sharp. As the purple crescent on its head started to glow, it walked away on all fours and vanished into midair. Chris turned to me and said, "Yeah, it does that. If I were you, I'd get used to it and not get too close." Story number 3, The Little Kid. Now, if you're anything like me, you find little kids scary. That feeling only increased after this experience. So, it's been a few months since I've joined the police force and the first story occurred. I had done my fair share trying to track down missing kids, but this one had to be one of the most frightening. See, this was a family who lost their 3 children a few years back. Supposedly, there is an ongoing investigation to find the children. Key word there being supposedly. He pulled me to the side and explained, "Listen, Charles, in October, there's unusually high amount of kids going missing, almost triple the norm. The reason we don't explain this phenomenon is we know what's making them all disappear." I tilt my head in confusion. "If you know so much, why don't you go after it?" "It's not that simple. It's an anomaly. The nature of the anomaly is unknown, but we gave it a D98 class rating. Thus, the disappearances aren't a police matter. They are a Foundation matter. They've been hunting this thing for years, but so far it's a no-go. Right now, we gotta pay lip service to the family, and then watch this Halloween for any phenomenon. Got it? I nod slowly. He nods. And don't be a hero either. Every new officer tries to be a hero the first Halloween, and every year, they just barely make it out alive. If at all. So, if not for your sake, don't die for my sake. I nod and he knocks on the door. An elderly woman and her husband came out. The woman sobbed on my shoulder and Chris shook the husband's hand. Then Chris said, "We've been making strides to try to find the monster." He looks at me. Responsible for this. The woman looked at Chris. "Thank you. I'm sure that you'll get him. You have to." Chris replies, "We will most certainly try." With that, the two of us went off. We looked around for a bit, first down the street, then in the woods. This was when we found something. There was a clearing about 10 feet wide with a large circle of nothing but dirt. And then I turned around and saw a little kid. It wasn't the kid we were looking for, but it did fit the bill for another kid. I told you, there were a lot of missing children. So naturally, I go to talk to it. And Chris put his hand on my shoulder. "Don't be a hero, Charles." I looked at the kid and asked for him to speak. Chris started to yell, "Charles, you don't want to?" You are here?" It sounded distorted, like it was multiple tapes all modified to look and sound like they were from the same clip, but it failed horribly. Either way, we decided to run. But I swear, when I turned around slightly, I saw a large gray blur charging towards me. I saw lots of teeth too, lots of sharp ones, and there were legs all crawling towards us. Other than that, the creature was way too fast to see. Afterward, it was a sharp sting, the deepest pain I've ever felt. Then I blacked out. I woke up in the foundation with a deep gash in my stomach. Chris and Sheila were looking over me on my hospital bed. So were a few men in lab coats with blank white masks. As in, all white. I don't know how they could even see out of it. God, White Lip, you had me worried. I told you not to be a hero. Not to talk to that thing. Not when you're in its territory anyway. Sheila added, "I was worried. So scared you wouldn't wake up." And with that, she stroked my cheek a little bit. It tickled somewhat. I looked up at her and smiled. Chris put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Carter and I will head back to the main desk to report what happened. You heal up. This could be a while." As they walked out the door, I started my 3 months of hospitality. Turns out there was poison in my system. When I did get out, I learned caution. Caution would aid me in my travels. Because, oh boy, things did not get any better from here.